I'm Beth Perrell. Kendall T. Johnson is here. She's the founder of Narcissistic Abuse Survivors Incorporated. We're going to talk about the purpose of the organization. So, Kendall, you have this event coming up. Go ahead and let people know right now what it is, where it is, and how they can participate.
The event is on June the 1st. That is World Narcissistic Abuse Awareness Day. And we will be at Cranes Roost Park starting at 7:30 a.m. and we're ending it at 10:30 a.m.
And one thing we'll talk about in a few minutes is you still have some spots for vendors or sponsors. So we'll talk about ways people can get involved like that. Why don't we, though, go ahead and explain ourselves? So I think the first question I have is, what is narcissistic abuse?
Narcissistic abuse is a wide range of things. You have people that have experienced childhood trauma, rejection, abandonment. It's also a personality flaw that most narcissists prey on the weak. And it's a lot of emotional manipulation and a lot of emotional abuse that takes place when you're abused by a narcissist.
And narcissists, of course, don't have that empathy for the other person.
No empathy. They don't have the capacity to sympathize, and they think they're perfect, and you're not, basically.
Now, you founded this organization, so tell us why.
I founded this organization after I was married, of course, twice. Married twice and divorced twice. Both times I was married to a narcissist, but I didn't know, or I didn't have a word for what I was dealing with in both marriages. The reason that this topic is so dear to me is because all of my siblings have been through this. And what I have found out through training and research is a codependent child is born to a narcissistic parent or a codependent parent. In my case, I was born, one of my parents were narcissists. We went through a lot of abuse, a lot of mental and physical abuse as children, which leads you to kind of go out into the world and look for that love that you may not have received as a child.
Because the way it was kind of seemed normal. That's yes. All it could be.
It seemed normal to us. And it's almost like it's a cycle of abuse. So what you experienced as a child, it's almost kind of like attraction, like an invisible attraction. So what you received as a child in regards to abuse, you kind of unknowingly attach yourself to those type of people throughout your adulthood. And a lot of times we don't know because nobody taught us any better. So I found myself years and years experiencing this and not really understanding why until a few years ago.
Okay, let's talk about that, because my understanding is you're not a trained psychologist or anything, all right?
No, I'm not. I'm not a trained psychologist. I've just experienced life. And because I came out on the other side and now I can speak from a place of healing, I feel like that qualifies me to sit where I sit today.
So let me take a stab at this. The reason you started this organization is really to build a bridge between those who are suffering, the victims, and that kind of information or that outlet.
Absolutely.
That they need.
Absolutely. Narcissistic Abuse Survivors is a safe place for women and men to come that has experienced this type of abuse, but they don't understand how to heal. So I've partnered with therapists and doctors and other people that have been through it, but now they're experts at it. We've partnered together to provide a safe place for people to come and heal. So we have workshops, we have networking events, and just creating that space where people can come and get information to understand what the red flags are early on, before you get into a deep relationship or you marry somebody and you really don't know who you're marrying.
It seems like that might be a place for us to kind of start, because I'm sure a lot of people listening who are in these relationships, you don't know what you don't know. So
Absolutely.
What are some red flags, or what advice do you have for people to say, take another look at your relationship?
A very, very big red flag is when you meet someone and they love everything that you love. They're big pretenders. And in my case, they show up in your life as the man or the woman of your dreams, and everything seems perfect about this person. It seems like, oh, wow, I have met the person that I've been dreaming about or praying about all my life. And they show up and they sweep you off your feet and everything just seems perfect. Well, if it seems that perfect, that's a red flag. Nobody's perfect.
So what do you do at that point? Do you start asking questions?
I would just say date really, really slowly, because normally those type of people want to move really quickly. In my case, they were ready to be married in a few months. They want to move really quickly. They want you to meet their family, their mother really, really quickly. And I feel like healthy people that's emotionally healthy, they wait and they want to see if you're really, really the person that they want to take home to meet mom. So that's another red flag when they want you to meet mom or dad or the children early on. I think that's just it's too quick to move. And what's the rush, right? What's the rush and what are we rushing for? So that's another red flag.
But that whirlwind it's so romantic. It's so exciting. And it's kind of hard to say, let me put the brakes on.
I think once you're in an emotionally healthy state, you have to know how to set healthy boundaries. And as a little girl growing up, no one taught me how to set those healthy boundaries, whether it was a relationship with a significant other, or if it was just a relationship with girlfriends. A lot of us are not taught how to set those healthy boundaries and how to stay true to your yeses and your no's. And when you find yourself bending the rules, and these are rules that we set for ourselves, when you find yourself bending those rules, those are typically red flags.
So I have to ask, going to get nosy here, back to your two marriages and your two divorces. When was it when you realized this is what was going on? It was a few months after the second relationship?
Actually, I've been kind of researching for probably the last 15 years of my life, but I couldn't get to what is the root cause of why I continue to allow people to hurt me, or why I attracted people who in return would hurt me, because I'm a person, I love to help people. I love to see the good in people, but I would always in return attract people who hurt me. So just doing a lot of soul searching and trying to figure out why, I came up with the conclusion that although I've attracted so many people who hurt me, I was the common denominator. And it had to be something about me that was unbalanced why I continued to attract people who would in return hurt me. So once I came to that conclusion, then I started doing all this self-development and just reaching back to my ancestors, looking at the women in my family, like my mother, my grandmother, my cousins, and their mothers, to see what is the common pathology of my family. And what I found was mind-blowing, because my mother had so many broken relationships. My grandmother had a lot of broken relationships. And then throughout the women in my family, they had so many broken relationships. And if they were married, their marriage was not one that was ideal. It was very dysfunctional. And so when I did the research on my family's pathology, I said, wow, I'm operating under the program of what my ancestors taught me. Now I need to come up with my own true identity and leave the identity of the people who raised me. I need to give them back their identity and then find my true authentic identity. And that's the identity that God created me to be. So here I am today, and I can say that I'm on the other side of it, which is how this nonprofit was formed. And it's to give people a sense of safety, because a lot of times we're just taught to kind of suffer in silence. And when we do that, that's when you get the suicide. That's when you get depression and you get oppression. And people just don't understand how to come out of it, and they're ashamed.
Quick question about who these abuse survivors are, because you're talking about marriages and other romantic relationships. It strikes me this could also be the friendships that you form.
Yes, absolutely. I've had a few friends that, again, it was just all about them. And when you did not conform to, it could have been something as simple as going out to a party. But when you don't conform to what they want you to do, it could typically get emotionally unhealthy.
So let's talk about the Narcissistic Abuse Survivors organization. You offer this bridge, as we were talking about, to try to get people to the therapy and everything that they need. But really, how does it unfold?
How does it unfold in regards to?
In what you offer. I mean, how do people come to you and what happens next?
They can call us at 870-397-1953. They can also go to www.narcissisticabusesurvivors.org. We have a place there where they can leave their contact information, they can leave their email, and they can also get updates on future events and workshops that we're doing here in the community and abroad.
What kinds of discussions take place? I know, for example, that you do have an online thing that you've started recently where people are, connecting online to talk about what they're going through.
Yes, we have Facebook Live, we have Periscope, which is a more modern way to draw people in, and it's a platform for me to be transparent and to allow people to relate to some of the things that I've been through. So we do that weekly, and we have workshops that we're creating once a month also, where people can come and just be transparent and actually listen to some of the things that I've been through, as well as some therapists that I've connected with, and to listen to how they can heal or how they can come in and actually get professional help.
Maybe we'll talk from your perspective and what you went through. So once you started to realize that there was this kind of family pathology that you were trying to now get rid of, what was your path then? Did you connect with a therapist, or how did you work through that?
Absolutely. Just to be transparent, I thought I could really heal myself. So I started buying all these books and researching codependency versus narcissism. I watched so many YouTube videos, and one of my favorite psychotherapists is Dr. Ross Rosenberg out of Chicago, and he breaks it down. He has this book called The Human Magnet Syndrome, and it breaks down how we are magnetically attracted to the opposite person, but what you have in common is both people need each other, and you're not supposed to need someone else to make you happy or to complete you. You complete yourself all by yourself. So he breaks that down, and I was just in awe of his work. And I actually went to his training. He had a 3-day training in Chicago, and I went to his training, and it really inspired me to learn more.
Well, let's let people know about the event, because this is a way, of course, you're raising funds, but it's also, I think, a way for people to learn a little bit more about the organization and what you're trying to achieve. So tell us about your event at Crane's Roost on June 1st.
World Narcissistic Abuse Survivors 5K Walk is it's a place where we can come and walk in symbolic of our healing. So that day, we would show up. You get T-shirts with your registration. You can go to eventbrite.com to register. Mm-hmm. We also have sponsorship packages as well as vendor spaces open for that day as well. So if you have a business where you promote healing, whether it be mental health, the total body healing, nutritionist, and all of those things pertaining to healing, you can come, set up your booth, and promote your business at the walk that day.
And how do people contact you for that?
Again, if you're not social media savvy, you can call us at 870-397-1953, and we can help you get registered, or you can go on eventbrite.com and look up Narcissistic Abuse Survivors 5K Walk.
And so how long has the organization been in existence?
It has been in existence since April of 2018.
Okay, so we're getting the word out about who you are and that you're there. And
Absolutely.
I have to ask, certainly you're trying to locally get people involved with this so that they can show up on June 1st, but it seems that you're probably connecting with people outside of Florida and beyond.
To be honest, I am connecting with people globally, all over the world, because this silent killer, I would say, because their lives are being destroyed. So we've been able to reach people in and out of the country. So I'm excited about reaching people globally.
So what do you hear from people, certainly in Central Florida, but beyond? What do they say? I'm wondering if there's some kind of regional, connections to particular aspects of this or not. Is it the same everywhere?
Surprisingly, a lot of our stories are almost verbatim alike, because when you begin to research narcissism and their personality traits, all of them kind of act alike. They're very, very systematic people. So our stories sound a lot alike, and most people can say, oh my gosh, this sounds just like my life. And so people can relate on that level.
It's got to be scary, though. I mean, in your case, for example, what's it like telling all your family members, hey, I've got to do something different here? Or do you say anything?
I think once you get to the point where you really understand who you are, you kind of want to save everybody. And so, of course, I give the information to my family, but people have to be in a place where they want different. They have to be in a place to where they're really seeking healing. So no matter what you say, if they're not ready, then they just kind of take the information and, brush it off.
Again, it's got to be a little brave, right?
Yes,
to
absolutely.
Bring it up.
Absolutely.
So the money you raise in the walk, how are you going to apply that?
I apply that to the workshops. A lot of the workshops are free to the public, and the monies are to, get the venues or get water, also for T-shirts and just things like that we provide once the people come to the workshop.
Really good. And I want to let people know as well on your website. This is, by the way, a
501c3. Yes.
And a nonprofit. So you're raising money to get this information out to people. But on your website, people can also connect to some information. You have some resources listed there, including a couple of books that you wrote.
Yes, absolutely. I have a book called I Am Not My Circumstance. And a lot of times we as children, we deal with abandonment from either parent. We deal with bullying. We deal with drug abuse, sexual abuse. And I call them so whats, because I got to a place to where I used all of my pain and all of my trauma as fuel to catapult me forward to success. I've also found that a lot of people use them as examples to be dysfunctional. And so I call them so whats because I found out that I am not what happened to me, nor was it my fault, but I'll use that now as fuel to catapult me into success.
It's got to be so important that when you are raising awareness about that the receivers know they can't just leave it there, right? Because when you finally come to that realization, you've got to be a little bit of a basket case at that point, and you need someone to guide you to the what's next.
Absolutely.
And so you mentioned at the workshops you have these therapists you can connect to.
Yes.
So how did you establish those relationships, and what do they say?
I met some amazing therapists in Chicago when I went to that workshop in Chicago. I've also, just by putting the information out, I've gotten the attention of other therapists also in Orlando. So I'm excited to also have them reach out and say, hey, however we can help, I'm willing to help.
What do you see happening next? How do you want to grow as an organization? How do you want to continue this mission?
What's next and what I see happening is traveling abroad to set up workshops in other cities as well as other states. I have people inbox me on Facebook, Instagram, and say, hey, when are you coming to Chicago? When are you coming to Ohio? When are you coming to Texas? We would love to attend one of your workshops. So I'm excited to travel with this. And I've also had other therapists to say, hey, I would love to partner and travel with you also.
In addition to the 5K, what's coming up here in Central Florida?
We are planning to do something in October, another workshop. What I did in February, which was the last workshop I did, was called Self-Love versus Self-Care. And you have a lot of high-functioning, high-achieving men and women. We think that because we look good on the outside, or we keep our hair done, we put our makeup on, we have nice cars, nice clothes, we go to the masseuse, we get our nails done, and we do all of this self-care, but we lack self-love. And that's where we connect with a lot of people that may or may not be emotionally healthy for us to connect with, because we're more so looking to dress up the outside and we're not exuding with self-love. So,
a tool that I'd like to hear you talk about is it's great to recognize that you've set yourself up this way, that you're attracting certain people and that they're having this really negative impact on your life. But then what? I mean, how do you end it properly, effectively, safely, etc.? That's not easy.
It's not easy. And I would say that my healing process was, it kicked my butt. Because at that point, I was realizing that everything that I knew to do was not helping me. And so to reach outside of myself and to say, hey, I need to get professional help, that was not easy because I was so used to dealing with it on my own. And so reaching out and actually getting a therapist, I learned that my therapist has a therapist. And most successful and high achieving people, they have therapists. It's not a bad thing, and especially from the community that I'm from, it's like taboo. You kind of deemed as like weird or crazy if you talk to a therapist, but it's been such a life-changing experience for me to have a therapist and actually be able to reach out to someone who understands what I'm dealing with and to let me know it's okay. It's okay.
Is that the primary thing, is that you're getting that affirmation back? Or are you as well in the therapy learning a little bit more about yourself and how to handle things?
Yes, absolutely. They have different workshops and different exercises that you go through, and it just makes things more clearer, and it makes life make sense, if that makes sense.
All right. Well, I want to let people know again that it's the Narcissistic Abuse Survivors Organization. You can go online to just that, narcissisticabusesurvivors.org. Also, people can learn about the 5K from that website. They can also give a call, 870-397-1953. But Kendall, let people know once again, what is the Narcissistic Abuse Survivors Organization and about the 5K?
Narcissistic Abuse Survivors is an organization to allow people a safe place to heal. It's an organization that points people in the right direction because we have good therapists and we have bad therapists. So I would hate for people that they're not knowledgeable about therapy to land in the hands of a bad therapist. So we've created an organization and a family that can point you in the direction of a safe place to heal.
And again, how can people participate in the walk? And also a reminder that you could use some more sponsors.
Yes, we have more sponsorship packages available. We also have vendor spaces available, and you can register again on eventbrite.com. And also for the participants, we have T-shirts that come with the registration, bottled water. We'll be giving out fruit that day. And we're just going to have a lot of fun that day. So come out 7:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. and we're going to have a lot of fun.
Kendall, let me give you an opportunity for any final thoughts, anything maybe we missed that you want to mention.
Yes, let me go ahead and give you my mission statement. Narcissistic Abuse Survivors Inc. is a nonprofit organization designed to help women get to the root cause of why they attract people who hurt them. Our goal is to help bring global awareness to the impact of emotional and mental abuse of women and men and teach them how to trust their inner voice.
Kendall, thanks for being here today. I appreciate it. Again, online, it's simply narcissisticabusesurvivors.org or call 870-397-1953. My guest is Kendall T. Johnson. She is the founder of the Narcissistic Abuse Survivors Incorporated. I'm Beth Perrell.